up, Weirdos? I'm Chris Weir, and this is the Chris Weir Experience. And today, we are on episode number 12 of the Daily Weirdo. Today, I want to talk to you about being the last line of defense. Now, in our careers, there are just a few transitions that we're going to make as far as our level of position is concerned, right? So if you think about it, right, you start off possibly as an intern, you start as an apprentice, you start as, certainly someone contributing to the work, but maybe not necessarily a full-fledged employee, right? Then you transition out of the internship or the apprenticeship or whatever it is that you're doing, and you transition into an actual employee relationship. And then as an employee, you transition into management, and then management into finally reaching the last line of defense, right? Whether that's the owner of a company, an entrepreneur, a CEO, an executive level position, whatever that is, being the last line of defense, meaning that the buck stops with you, right? So whatever that role is for you in whatever industry that you're in. So we have those singular transitions. I kind of think back as I was sitting here preparing for this today. Ooh, Shavas is always good. As I was preparing for this Daily Weirdo, I was thinking back on my transitions and thinking back on my career. And I remember my first move from being an employee into being management. And that happened very quickly for me. My first management position was early in high school. In fact, I became a manager on the first job I ever had. I was a shift manager. So I very quickly in my career gravitated toward those leadership style positions. And so that happened throughout my career. And really, I actually remember as I really think back, I remember a time I can remember saying, I don't really care what industry I go into. I just want to be in management. I was just intrigued by the process of managing people. See, I had a music background all coming through school. In fact, going into college, I almost took a full scholarship into college for music. Of course, all my music teachers and the people at the college all wanted me to go music education. I didn't want to be a teacher, but my background and my passion was in music. And what I found when I became a manager was that very similar to music and being like the conductor of an orchestra, I was managing a lot of moving pieces, a lot of different people in a lot of different positions doing a lot of different things. That was really fascinating to me. I had a lot of fun with that piece of being a manager, and I just fell in love with that. And like I said earlier in my career, I thought that's what I was going to be. I thought I was just going to be in management, and that was kind of going to be the direction that I ended up going. But then I did eventually make that final transition into opening my own business and becoming the last line of defense. Now, before I even get into that, I do want to talk about how relevant these transitions actually are. And I think sometimes this is missed, especially today. We got a lot of people that are getting into business, whether you're just coming right out of college or whatever, and looking for very, very quick transitions, right? Or even worse than that, skipping different transitions, right? Coming out of college, going straight into senior level leadership, or going straight into management, not having been an employee, and skipping these layers or these levels or whatever you want to call it. I'm not so sure that's really a good idea. In fact, I think it might be detrimental, not only to you as an individual, but to the organization that you're a part of as well. There's a lot of value in the experiences gained through these transitions as they take place. You understand each of the levels. So for instance, let's break this out. Let's kind of think this through just a little bit. So when you're an employee, right? You're learning what it means to be the doer, if you will, for lack of a better term. Let's just agree to use that term, doer. The ones where the rubber meets the road, where you're actually getting the work done at the lowest level, right? Or the highest level, depending on which way you look at it. But when you're the employee, you're seeing how management interacts with you. You're seeing how the last line of defense interacts with management and interacts with you. You're getting to see a very, very important perspective, because no matter what layer you go to, management or last line of defense, either way, you're going to be leading employees. So it's very important to get their perspective first. That's why in the military, if anyone's familiar with the military and the rank structure and how it works in the military, everyone starts at a lower level. Even those that come in with maybe some college experience or whatever, they still don't start in leadership positions. Even officers come in as second lieutenants, which are not necessarily leadership positions. Really, you have to grow. You have to grow by experiencing those lower level positions, so that you know that when you get to the point of leading them, kind of what they're going through, right? So you gain that perspective and that knowledge from that role. The transition from employee to manager, I'm not going to say is like incredibly hard. I think there's probably too many that make that transition. They're an incredible employee, so they get promoted into management when they probably should not have been promoted into management. I think there is management's for certain people. It's not for everybody. You hear employees all the time talk about how managers never do any work. That's kind of always the complaint. Until they become a manager and realize, holy crap, look at all this work I've got to do that I didn't see the manager doing while I was doing my job. There's a lot of back end stuff, a lot of behind the scenes things that managers have to do. So great employees don't necessarily make great managers. So I think maybe sometimes that transition happens when it probably should not have happened. But that's not to say that management is overwhelmingly hard necessarily. It's got its difficulties, just like being an employee has its difficulties. But that transition, as long as someone is kind of built for management, is suited for management, that transition is going to be more than likely a relatively successful transition. It's the transition from management into the last line of defense that exponentially grows in responsibility. When you become the last line of defense, everything stops with you. Everything that happens in the organization is your fault. Whether that's a success, whether it's a failure, it's your fault. And that level of responsibility, not only do you have to be okay with that, you have to love that. And that's very different. And a lot of people don't realize that when they go to open up their own business. We have so many people becoming entrepreneurs today that probably should not be becoming entrepreneurs because they don't understand all the complexities and all the dynamics to what it means to be the last line of defense. You know, when you're an employee, you're being relied on to get your job done. When you become a manager, you are being responsible for getting multiple people getting their jobs done, and then whatever other administrative responsibilities you have. When you're the last line of defense, you're responsible for everything. There is nothing that you're not responsible for. You don't have the ability to place blame on anyone else. It's yours, and it's yours alone. And I think that transition from management to last line of defense is so difficult. I remember opening my first business, and I think that entrepreneurs, I'm not going to say entrepreneurs are born and they can't be taught. I don't know that I necessarily buy into that idea, but I think there is there is a personality tendency. There's that type A personality or whatever, you want to put on that. There is that personality of an entrepreneur that kind of stands out, and you kind of find this consistent amongst entrepreneurs. So I think that transition can be successful for that type of individual. But again, there's just too many getting in today, and I think we're going to see a lot of businesses failing. We are seeing a lot of businesses failing, especially as the economy starts going back down, which it's going to do. You're going to find all these people who've just had business falling in their laps not really understand how to rally a company in whatever economy that we're in. But I think it's relevant. Having said all of that, I think it's very relevant to especially to you young professionals that are getting started. Don't skip the transitions, right? Be patient. That's one of the things I keep talking about is patience, right? You have to have patience to not only allow the things to happen, but also to allow yourself to soak in all of these different responsibilities, all these different things that happen at each of these different levels. And when you skip these transitions and when you skip these levels, there's so much that ends up getting missed. Again, I think it's getting missed not only for the company, but I think it's getting missed for you as well. So if you want to have long-term success, we talked about this either last week or the week before, I don't remember, but if you want long-term success, you have to give up short-term excess. That means if you're wanting to look way down the road and you want to be successful for the long haul, you have to do the things in very early in your career that will help set that up long term. Part of that is going through these different levels, because when you're the last line of defense, you don't have time to learn those levels because you've got 100 million other things that are happening and going. You're having to make decisions at the drop of a hat. So it's important that you go through these transitions, that you enjoy each of these transitions, and you learn to love this entire process. Because when you do become the last line of defense, and you will if you want it, you can go get it. I'm just saying, take your time. Be patient. Don't feel like you have to do it right now. Slow down a little bit. Be patient. Let it come. Let it happen. When it does, learn at each experience that you have in your career is going to lead you to something else. I've had roles and responsibilities in my career that while I was in the middle of it, I hated. And the second that I left, I said, I will never use anything from then again. And weeks, months, a year later, I look back at it and go, man, if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't know this. The year that I took off from owning my own agency this past year, and going back in-house and working for a company, I did not enjoy that very much at all, because I have that entrepreneurial spirit. So I wanted to be out on my own. But what I gained from, and that's even, I'd already gone through that transition, right? So I stepped back into the senior management role, and did the transition back into ownership. So I've even done that transition twice. And I think it just reminded me how important it is to go through that transition. I was reminded of so many things that now, today, with my new agency, I'm able to avoid some of those pitfalls that I might have fallen into the first go around. So I can't express to you enough the value in going through each of these different transitions that take place in your career. Because when you're that last line of defense, it's your fault. It's your fault, and you gotta love that, and you gotta be ready for that. You gotta be prepared for that, and going through these transitions will help you get there. I hope you gained some value from this today. If you did, please share this, like it, subscribe, engage with me, leave me some comments, but definitely go subscribe to my different channels, engage. Don't subscribe if you didn't find value. If you don't like what you're hearing and you don't find value in anything that we're sharing here on the page, then don't subscribe. I'm looking for people who are truly interested in what it is that we're bringing to the table in this medium, and I hope to bring value to you in one way or another. Guys, stay strong. Last line of defense, folks. Keep up the good work. Employees and managers, you're going to be there soon. Be patient. Otherwise, guys, thanks so much. I appreciate it. We'll see you tomorrow.